Palace guards never saw her coming. How could they? Lorelei moved through the shadows of the Crimson Citadel like smoke, her unseeing eyes betraying nothing of her true purpose. While the entire kingdom celebrated the Lunar Convergence Ball, where unmated alphas from across the realm competed for King Zephyrian's attention, she had 60 seconds to steal enough food to survive another week. What she didn't know, what would change everything, was that the Alpha King himself stood in those very kitchens, disguised as a common soldier, searching for truth in a world full of beautiful lies. "Your Majesty, the Northern Alphas have arrived," Commander Thane announced, finding Zephyrian glowering at the frost-covered windows of his private chamber an hour earlier. "Shall I escort you to the throne room?" "How many?" Zephyrian's scarred hands gripped the windowsill, his massive frame casting shadows across the room. 3 years since becoming Alpha King. 3 years of every unmated alpha in the realm throwing themselves at his feet, seeking power, never seeing him. 47 new arrivals, including Duke Castellan's triplet sons. Zephyrian's laugh held no humor. "All alphas?" "Of course, sire. No Omega would dare. Because I decreed it." The words tasted like ash. His father's dying command echoed, "Never take an Omega mate. They make kings weak. Double the guard. I want every entrance watched." "My king, forgive my boldness, but hiding in kitchens won't find you a suitable mate." Zephyrian turned, his storm-gray eyes flashing gold. "Suitable? You mean politically advantageous? Physically perfect?" His voice dropped to a growl. "I built this empire with blood and sacrifice, Thane. I deserve one truth, one real moment, before I chain myself to a loveless bond." Meanwhile, 3 floors below, Lorelei's fingers traced the familiar stone walls, counting. 27 steps from the servants' entrance. Turn left at the cold spot where winter air leaked through. The kitchens should be empty. The staff would be serving the ball. Her stomach cramped, 3 days without food making her dizzy. Being a blind Omega in Zephyrian's kingdom meant being invisible, worthless. The orphanage had cast her out at 16, 4 years of surviving on scraps and shadows. She slipped through the door, her heightened senses immediately cataloging the space. Bread cooling on the left, dried meat hanging right, the warmth of recently abandoned ovens. Her fingers found a cloth sack, and she began filling it carefully, silently. "You're quite skilled at that." Lorelei's heart stopped. A male voice, deep and unfamiliar, coming from barely 3 feet away. How had she not sensed him? She dropped into a submissive crouch, the bag falling from her fingers. "Please, I'm sorry, I was just..." "Stealing?" But his tone held curiosity, not anger. She heard him move closer, his scent hitting her, pine forests and thunderstorms, power barely contained. An alpha. "Stand up." I shouldn't be here, please. Just let me..." I said stand. The command in his voice made her Omega instincts force her upright, trembling. She kept her head down, silvered eyes hidden beneath tangled midnight hair. "Look at me. I can't," her voice barely whispered. "Won't or can't." Before she could answer, shouts erupted from the corridor. "The blind thief! She's here somewhere." Panic flooded Lorelei's system. She lunged sideways, but strong hands caught her waist. Instead of restraining her, he pushed her behind him, his body shielding hers as guards burst through the door. "Sir, we're searching for..." The guard stopped. "Soldier, what are you doing here?" "Having a meal," Zephyrian replied smoothly, keeping his back to them so they couldn't see Lorelei. "This servant was just bringing me food." "That's no servant. That's the blind beggar who's been stealing." "Are you questioning me?" His voice carried lethal authority. No, sir. My apologies." After they left, Lorelei stood frozen, Confusion, overwhelming fear. Why would a soldier protect her? They're gone, he said softly. But they'll circle back. Can you run? Not fast enough. Her honesty surprised them both. Then we go up. Before she could protest, he lifted her easily, her weight nothing to his alpha strength. Hold on. As he carried her through secret passages she never knew existed, Lyrale's mind raced. Who was this strange alpha who smelled like kings but dressed like servants? And why did her omega instincts, silent for 20 years, suddenly sing at his touch? You're coming with me, he declared, decision made. What? No, I'd rather die than... Lightning flashed outside, illuminating her face for the first time. Zephyrian's breath caught. Those eyes, silver like moonlight, unseeing yet seeing everything. Beautiful. Defiant. Perfect. The servant quarters Zephyrian brought her to smelled of lavender and clean linen, nothing like the rotting alleys where Lyrale usually sheltered. She stood rigid near the door, every muscle prepared to flee, even knowing she'd never find her way out of this labyrinth alone. Sit, he commanded, and she heard him pouring water. When did you last eat? That's none of your concern. 3 days. 4? His footsteps approached. Your hands are shaking. Before she could retreat, he pressed warm bread into her palm. Eat. Slowly, or you'll be sick. The first bite nearly broke her. Soft, fresh, still warm. When had she last tasted anything that wasn't stale or stolen? Tears leaked from her useless eyes before she could stop them. No one's shown you kindness before. Not a question. Kindness has a price. She forced herself to stop eating, though her stomach screamed for more. What do you want? I have nothing. You have a name. She hesitated. Lyralai. Lyralai. The way he said it, like tasting wine, made her shiver. I'm... Zeph. You're not really a soldier? Also not a question. His presence felt too large, his authority too natural. Tonight I am. She heard him sink into a chair, leather creaking. Tell me, Lyrale, how does a blind Omega survive 4 years on the streets? By being invisible. She took another small bite. People don't see what they think is worthless. And if someone did see you, then I'd run. You didn't run from me. Her laugh was bitter. You didn't give me that option. Silence stretched between them, broken only by distant music from the ball. Finally, he spoke again. The guards will search all night. You'll stay here. I can't. You will. That alpha command again, but gentler. There's a bed through that door. Tomorrow we'll figure out. A thunderous knock interrupted. Soldier! Open up! King's orders! Lyralai went rigid. Zephyrian cursed under his breath. He couldn't be discovered here, not dressed like this. In one fluid motion, he grabbed Lyralai, pushing her toward the bedroom. Hide. No matter what you hear, don't come out. But, promise me. Something in his voice made her nod. She stumbled into the bedroom, pressing against the wall as she heard him open the main door. Commander Thane? Zephyrian kept his voice rough, common. Problem? The king demands every guard search for the Omega thief. She assaulted Lord Garrett's son, apparently. Broke his nose when he cornered her last month. Lyralai's hands clenched. That alpha had tried to force himself on her, claiming blind Omegas should be grateful for any attention. I'll join the search, Zephyrian said. No need. The king wants her brought directly to him when found. He's particular about Omega criminals. Thane's voice dropped. Between us, I think he means to make an example. Public execution, perhaps. Ice flooded Lyralai's veins. She pressed her hand over her mouth to muffle a gasp. Seems harsh for stealing bread. Zephyrian said carefully. Omegas who forget their place threaten the kingdom's stability. The king's words. Footsteps retreated. Report anything suspicious. After the door closed, Lyrelai heard Zeph approaching the bedroom. You can come out. I have to leave. She emerged, shaking. If you're king... Stop. He caught her arm gently. You're not going anywhere tonight. You heard him. Public execution. I won't just wait here to die. Look at me. When she turned her face up in frustration, he continued. Do you trust me? I don't even know you. But your instincts do. His thumb brushed her wrist, feeling her racing pulse. What do they tell you? She wanted to lie, but couldn't. Every Omega instinct screamed that this alpha meant safety, protection, home. They tell me you're dangerous. To others, never to you. How can you promise that? Because I'm the king ordering your death, he thought, self-loathing rising like bile. Instead, he said, stay tonight. Let me protect you. Tomorrow, I'll ensure you're somewhere safe, far from the citadel. Why would you risk that for me? He was quiet so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, soft as midnight. Because you're the first person in 3 years who doesn't want anything from me. Lyrelai's breath caught. The raw honesty in his voice matched the ache in her chest. Two broken people recognizing each other in the dark. One night, she whispered. Outside, thunder rolled across the mountains and fate laughed at the Alpha King harboring the very Omega he'd supposedly condemned. Dawn came too soon, pale light creeping through windows Lyrelai couldn't see, but felt warming her skin. She hadn't slept. How could she, with Zeph's presence filling every corner of the small quarters? He'd insisted she take the bed while he guarded the door, but she'd heard him pacing all night, restless as a caged wolf. You're awake, his voice rumbled from the doorway. I don't sleep well in strange places. She sat up, his cloak still wrapped around her shoulders. It smelled of him, that maddening mixture of power and forest storms. We need to get you out before... Another knock, sharp and demanding. Soldier! The king requires your presence immediately. Lyrelai recognized Commander Thane's voice and tensed. Hide, Zeph whispered urgently, but it was too late. The door burst open. Apparently, keeping the commander waiting wasn't an option. Thane took in the scene, his soldier standing protectively before a small, silver-eyed Omega wrapped in a military cloak. His expression went from confusion to fury in seconds. What in the 7 hells? He stopped, truly seeing Lyrelai's face. That's her. The blind thief. Commander, I can explain. Harboring a condemned criminal? Have you lost your mind? Thane's hand went to his sword. And you, Omega... Don't touch her. The growl that erupted from Zeph's throat made the room vibrate. Pure alpha dominance flooded the space, so powerful that even Lyrelai, blind to visual cues, could feel Thane stumbling backward. Impossible, Thane gasped. That voice. Your Majesty? Silence. Lyrelai's world tilted. Your Majesty? Leave us, Thane. But sire. Now! The door slammed. Lyrelai stood frozen, pieces clicking into place. The authority. The hidden identity. The order for her execution. You're him. Her voice came out strangled. The Alpha King. Lyrelai. You ordered my death. She backed away until she hit the wall. You sat there, fed me, promised protection, knowing you'd already condemned me. I didn't know it was you when I gave that order. Would it matter? Just another worthless Omega to make an example of? Her hands shook with rage and betrayal. Is this some sick game? Pretend to save me, then watch me die? Stop. He moved closer, and she could feel the heat radiating from him. If I wanted you dead, would I have hidden you? Protected you? I don't know what you want. You're the king who banned Omegas from the palace, who declares us weak and worthless. Because my father's Omega mate betrayed him, sold kingdom secrets to enemies, led to thousands of deaths. The words exploded from him. He made me swear, no Omega would ever. So you punish all of us for one's crimes? I was keeping a promise to a dying man. A stupid promise. She threw his cloak at where she sensed he stood. You think alphas can't be weak? Can't betray? Your ball is full of alphas who would sell you to your enemies for the right price. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're a coward hiding behind your father's fear. She felt for the door. I'll never let you mark me as criminal or anything else. He caught her wrist. Gentle but unbreakable. You can't survive out there. The guards. I survived 4 years without you. Surviving isn't living. His other hand cupped her face, thumb brushing away angry tears she didn't know were falling. When I saw you last night, fearless, defiant, so achingly beautiful. Stop. But her Omega instincts were singing, responding to his proximity. Your scent, he breathed, leaning closer. Moonflowers and rain. Do you know what you are? A blind, worthless, my mate. The words hung between them like lightning before thunder. Lyrelai's knees nearly buckled, not from his command, but from the truth her Omega recognized instantly. No. She wrenched free, stumbling toward the door. I reject it. I reject you. You can't reject nature. Watch me. She found the handle, yanking it open. I'd rather die as myself than live as your secret shame. She ran, navigating by instinct and desperation. Behind her, she heard his roar of frustration, felt the palace walls themselves tremble. But she didn't stop. Not when her Omega screamed to return to her Alpha. Not when her heart shattered with each step. She ran toward the unknown, away from the mate fate had cursed her with, the king who could never claim a blind Omega without destroying his crown. 3 days. 3 insufferable days since Lyrelai had vanished into the labyrinth of the capital's lower districts. Zephyrian stood before his council, barely containing his rage as Lord Garrett droned on about wedding preparations for the lunar selections finale. The Northern Duke's daughter has remarkable bloodlines, Your Majesty. Strong sons guaranteed. Enough. Zephyrian's growl silenced the room. Double the city patrols. I want every district searched. For one blind thief? Lord Garrett's son, Mordecai, nose still bandaged from Lyrelai's attack, sneered. Surely the king has better uses for our resources. Question me again, and you'll lose more than your nose. Meanwhile, deep in the Ash Market district, Lyrelai pressed herself against a crumbling wall, listening to footsteps pass. The guard's search patterns had become predictable, but tonight felt different, more urgent. Check every hovel, a guard commanded nearby. The king wants her found before tomorrow's selection ceremony. Selection ceremony? Lyrelai's stomach twisted. Of course, the great Alpha King choosing his perfect Alpha bride while hunting the Omega who dared reject him. She needed to move, but hunger made her dizzy. The bakery across the square had thrown out burned loaves earlier. She'd smelled them, but guards surrounded it now. You look lost, little Omega. The voice came from above. Lyrelai tensed, ready to run. Peace, I'm Nyx. I run the underground shelter. A rope ladder dropped beside her. Unless you'd prefer the guards' hospitality? Against her better judgment, Lyrelai climbed. The shelter was a hidden network of connected rooftops, housing dozens of Omegas. The scent of fear and desperation was overwhelming, but also safety. You're the one who broke Mordecai's nose, Nyx said with approval. Hero to every Omega he's terrorized. I'm nobody special. The king seems to disagree. 50 gold pieces for information on a blind Omega. That's more than most see in a lifetime. Lyrelai's blood chilled. 50? Makes a girl wonder what you did. Or ... quote. Nyx inhaled sharply. Moonflowers and rain. Oh, child, you're a true mate. I'm nothing. Don't lie to another Omega. That scent only happens with true mate bonds. And there's only one unmated alpha in this kingdom powerful enough to turn the city upside down. Before Lyrelai could respond, screams erupted below. Guards were dragging Omegas from buildings, checking their eyes. They're getting desperate, Nyx whispered. Go. Back room, hidden panel in the floor. It leads to the old tunnels. Why help me? Because if the king's true mate is an Omega, maybe things finally change for us. Lyrelai crawled through the tunnel, emerging near the palace walls just as thunder cracked overhead. Rain began falling, perfect cover for movement but dangerous for navigation. She needed shelter, the palace gardens. She knew a groundskeeper's shed there, abandoned after she'd stolen tools months ago. Risky being so close to him, but guards would never expect it. She scaled the wall, a skill learned through painful trial and error, and dropped into soft grass. The shed was 20 paces east, if memory served. 15 steps in, she froze. His scent hit her like a physical blow. Forest and storm, rage and longing. Hello, Lyrelai. She spun toward Zephyrian's voice, gauging distance to the wall. How? Did I know you'd come here? Because I know you. 3 months ago, you stole garden shears from that shed. 2 months ago, herbs from the medical garden. Last month, food from the kitchens. His footsteps circled her slowly. I've been tracking a ghost, never knowing it was you. Then you know I'm a thief. A criminal. I know you're a survivor. There's a difference. Not to your laws. My laws are about to change. She laughed bitterly. Because you found one acceptable Omega? How generous. Because I found you. He stepped closer, his heat reaching her through the rain. Do you know what these 3 days have been? Agony. My wolf howling for his mate while nobles parade their daughters. Then choose one. Mark her. And this. I can't. The raw pain in his voice stopped her retreat. Every time I look at them, I see your eyes. Every scent is wrong because it isn't yours. You've ruined me, Lyrelai. Completely. I didn't ask to be your mate. And I didn't ask to love you. The words hung between them, heavy as thunder. But here we are. You don't even know me. Then let me. His hand found hers in the darkness, not grabbing, just offering. Stay. The rain intensified, masking the tears on both their faces. Lyrelai stood at the crossroads, run and survive alone, or risk everything on an impossible king. Why do you smell so familiar? She whispered, her heightened Omega senses detecting something deeper. Beyond the mate bond, there's something else. Underneath the alpha dominance I sense. His silence stretched too long, hiding secrets that would shatter everything. The question hung between them until a horn blast shattered the moment. 3 sharp notes that made Zephyrian curse. The selection summons. His hand tightened on hers. I have to... Go. Lyrelai pulled away. Choose your perfect alpha bride. Come with me. To watch you select someone else? How cruel, do you think? As my guest. Under protection, no one would dare touch you. Your guest? Her laugh was razor sharp. The blind Omega in rags among alphas in silk? They'd know instantly what I am to you. Then let them... Stop. She backed away. You need an alpha queen. Someone strong, worthy. You are worthy. I can't even see you. The words ripped from her throat. I don't know if you're handsome or scarred, tall or short. I navigate by counting steps and remembering echoes. What kind of queen? He moved so fast she didn't sense it until his arms caged her against a tree. You see me better than anyone with sight ever has. Pretty words don't change reality? Then let me show you reality. His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Midnight. The moon garden on the east tower. It's isolated. Private. I won't come. Liar. His thumb brushed her racing pulse. Your Omega knows the truth, even if you deny it. Another horn blast. With a growl of frustration he left, taking his warmth and her breath with him. Inside the palace, Zephyrian entered the selection hall to find hundreds of alphas in their finest clothes. His council had outdone themselves, crystal chandeliers, gold banners, the kingdom's wealth on display. Your Majesty, Duke Castellan's daughter, Seraphina, glided forward in crimson silk. I've been hoping to speak with you. As have we all. Lady Morgana purred, her emerald dress matching her calculating eyes. He endured it. The simpering, the veiled promises of power, the subtle challenges to his authority. But his mind stayed in the garden, with moonlit eyes and rain-soaked defiance. You seem distracted, Your Majesty, Commander Thane murmured during a brief respite. Perhaps because your thoughts are elsewhere? Or with someone else? Careful, Commander. The servant quarters incident, that Omega -- quote, is none of your concern. She's your true mate. Not a question. Her scent is all over you, sire. Every alpha here can smell it, even if they don't understand it yet. Zephyrian's eyes flashed gold. Your point? Make a choice. Either claim her publicly or let her go. This half measure will destroy you both. Meanwhile, Lyrelei paced the abandoned shed, arguing with herself. She shouldn't go. It was beyond foolish. Yet as midnight approached, her treacherous feet carried her through secret paths toward the East Tower. Her Omega senses, heightened by years of blindness, picked up more than just scents and sounds. She could detect the subtle markers and pheromones that others missed, including the faint Omega traces buried deep beneath Zephyrian's alpha dominance. It made no sense, but her instincts never lied. The moon garden was legendary. She'd heard servants describe it. Designed for night-blooming flowers, their fragrances supposedly divine. She found the entrance, hesitating. You came. His voice was soft, wondering. To tell you this is impossible. Come here. When she didn't move, he added, Please. She stepped forward cautiously, gasping when her feet touched soft petals. What? Moon roses. They bloom only in darkness, petals pale as starlight. He took her hand, guiding her deeper into the garden. Here, vampire orchids. They smell like chocolate and copper. Wonder crept into her voice despite herself. And these? He lifted her hand to touch velvet leaves. Are ghost flowers. They sing. Plants don't sing. These do. Listen. In the silence, she heard it. A faint humming from the blooms, like distant chimes. How is this possible? Magic. Old as the kingdom itself. His hand settled on her waist. Dance with me. There's no music. There's the ghost flowers, the night wind, your heartbeat. He pulled her closer. Dance with me, Lyrelei. She shouldn't. But her body moved without permission, swaying with his. He guided her expertly, never letting her stumble, making her feel graceful for the first time in her life. The alphas at the selection, she whispered against his chest. They're all beautiful, aren't they? They're all lies. His hand splayed across her back. Painted masks and practiced smiles. You're the only truth I've found. Zeph -- Meet me here, every night until you believe me. Someone will notice, then let them. His lips brushed her hair. I'm tired of hiding. A bell tolled. 1 in the morning. She pulled away. I have to go. Tomorrow? She shouldn't promise, but with ghost flowers singing and his scent wrapping around her like home, she whispered, tomorrow. As she left, neither noticed the figure watching from the shadows, Mordecai's bandaged face twisted with cruel satisfaction. Tomorrow indeed, he murmured, already planning his blackmail. Meet me at midnight, or I'll tell everyone your secret. The note had been slipped under her shelter door at dawn. No signature needed. She recognized Mordecai's cologne, that cloying scent of entitlement. Lorelei crumpled the paper, mind racing. He'd seen them, which meant Zephyrian was compromised. She found Mordecai in the palace's lower courtyard at midnight, his smile predatory even though she couldn't see it. She could hear it in his voice. The blind Omega and the king. What a scandal. What do you want? Justice. You broke my nose, humiliated me. The king protected you. Now you'll both pay. He circled her slowly. Tomorrow's the final selection ceremony. You'll attend as my servant? Never. Oh, you will. Because if you don't, I'll announce to the entire court that their king has been meeting secretly with a blind Omega, the same one he supposedly condemned. His fingers traced her jaw. She jerked away. Imagine the chaos. The strong Alpha King, brought low by a defective Omega. I'm not defective, aren't you? Can't even see the kingdom you'd supposedly help rule. But don't worry. After tomorrow, it won't matter. You'll watch him choose an Alpha bride, then disappear forever. Or I destroy him. Lyrelei's hands clenched. He'd survive scandal. Would he? The northern armies already question his strength. Lord Garrett seeks any excuse for challenge. Your existence would be the weapon they need. Mordecai's voice dropped. Choose, Omega. Your humiliation, or his destruction. Meanwhile, Zephyrian stood in the moon garden checking the time again. Past midnight. Where was she? She's not coming. Thane emerged from the shadows. I told you to stop following. Mordecai has her. Ice flooded Zephyrian's veins. What? He saw you both last night. Now he's leveraging it. Thane's expression was grim. She's protecting you, sire. Where are they? Lower courtyard, but if you go there. Zephyrian was already moving, alpha rage making his eyes burn gold. He found them just as Mordecai grabbed Lyrelei's wrist. Release her. The command vibrated with lethal power. Mordecai didn't cower. He smiled. Your Majesty. Finding you here, defending the condemned Omega. How interesting. Your last warning. Is it? Strike me, and everyone wonders why. Defend her publicly, and questions arise. Mordecai pulled Lorelei against him. She struggled but couldn't break free. Unless you'd prefer I tell them now? I'm sure Lady Seraphina would love to know why you've been distracted. Name your price. Zephyrian's voice was death itself. Already settled with the Omega. She'll serve at tomorrow's ceremony. Watch you choose another. Then vanish forever. Mordecai's grip tightened. Unless you'd prefer revelation? Lorelei. It's fine. Her voice came out steady, though her heart shattered. Lord Mordecai and I have an understanding. See? She agrees. Mordecai released her with a shove. Tomorrow, little Omega. Don't be late. After he left, Zephyrian caught Lorelei before she could flee. You're not doing this. I have to. I'll handle Mordecai. How? Kill him? Exile him? Either reveals the truth? She touched his face, memorizing it through her fingertips. You need to be king more than you need me. You're wrong. He pressed her hand to his heart. Feel that? It only beats for you. Hearts lie. Not mine. Not about this. He pulled her closer, and suddenly his lips were on hers. Desperate, consuming, everything she'd dreamed and feared. She kissed him back, pouring all her love and goodbye into it. When they broke apart, both were shaking. "Don't come tomorrow," he whispered against her lips. "Run. I'll find you after." "Stop." She pulled away. "Choose an alpha. Be the king they need." Lyrelei. "Your scent, Zeph. My heightened senses detect what others miss. Beneath your alpha dominance, there are omega markers. Faint, but there. Something they've hidden from you." "What are you talking about?" But she was already disappearing into shadows, leaving him with only the ghost of her kiss and words that made no sense. Within hours, revelations would shatter the kingdom's foundation. Tonight, she could pretend love was enough. Tonight, she could pretend goodbye wasn't forever. The ghost flowers sang mournfully as Zephyrian stood alone, unaware that his entire life had been built on a lie, one that a blind Omega had sensed when no one else could. The selection ceremony hall glittered with calculated perfection. Hundreds of alpha nobles filled the space, their scents mixing into a nauseating cocktail of ambition and desperation. Lirali stood in servant's gray behind Mordecai's chair, her presence invisible to most, just another Omega serving their betters. "Magnificent turnout," Duke Castellan boomed to his daughter. "Seraphina, dear, remember, strength and submission perfectly balanced. The king responds to power." If only they knew, Lyrali thought, that their mighty Alpha King had begged a blind Omega to run away with him just hours ago. Zephyrian entered like a storm-given form, his presence making every Alpha in the room instinctively submit. His eyes swept the crowd, pausing imperceptibly on her before moving on. "Lords and ladies," Commander Thane announced, "His Majesty will now hear final presentations from the chosen candidates." Lady Morgana went first, offering military alliances. Seraphina promised trade routes. Each alpha presented their worth in power, gold, and influence. "Pathetic, isn't it?" Mordecai whispered to Lyrelei. "All that preening, when we know what he really wants." She remained silent, counting heartbeats. "Lord Mordecai," Zephyrian's voice cut through the hall. "You're not presenting?" "I wouldn't dare compete with such magnificent specimens, Your Majesty." His hand dropped to Lyrelei's shoulder, possessive. "I know my place." The threat was subtle, but clear. Zephyrian's jaw clenched. "However," Mordecai continued louder, "I've heard rumors about tomorrow's blood moon. They say it reveals true mates. Wouldn't it be fascinating if Your Majesty's mate was someone unexpected?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lyrelei felt Zephyrian's rage building like pressure before a storm. "The blood moon is superstition," Lady Seraphina laughed. "True mates are fairy tales for Omegas." "Are they?" Mordecai's grip tightened on Lyrelei. "What do you think, servant?" Before she could answer, Zephyrian stood. "Enough games. I've made my choice." The hall fell silent. This was it. He would choose an alpha, and Lyrelei would disappear as promised. But first, a demonstration. His voice carried lethal authority. "Lord Mordecai speaks of true mates. Let's test it." He descended from the throne, each step deliberate. "Everyone present, Alpha and Omega alike, step forward." "Sire?" Thane looked confused. "Now." The command was absolute. Every person in the hall moved forward involuntarily, including Lyrelei. "Release your scents. All of you." The hall erupted in pheromones, hundreds of scents mixing, overwhelming. But through it all, one scent sang to him: moonflowers and rain. "There." He pointed directly at Lyrelei. "Her." "Your Majesty." Duke Castellan sputtered. That's a servant. That's my mate. Chaos. Alphas shouting. Omegas gasping. Mordecai's face twisting in rage. You can't! Lady Morgana shrieked. She's blind. Defective. The kingdom needs a strong queen. The kingdom needs truth. Zephyrian moved toward Liralle, but Mordecai grabbed her throat. One more step, and I'll... He never finished. Liralle, tired of being everyone's pawn, drove her elbow into his ribs, then her knee into his already broken nose. He released her with a howl. I'm done being handled, she announced to the stunned hall. Liralle... Zephyrian reached for her. No. She stepped back. You don't get to claim me just because Mordecai forced your hand. That's not... Isn't it? You would have chosen another if he hadn't threatened exposure. Never. The word resonated with such truth that even the alphas felt it. I was going to abdicate. Shock rippled through the hall. Commander Thane stepped forward. Your Majesty, you can't mean... I wrote the papers this morning. If Lyra Lee had run, if she'd disappeared as Mordecai demanded, I would have followed. He never looked away from her. A kingdom means nothing without you. Pretty words, Lord Garrett sneered. But the law is clear. No Omega can be queen. Then the law changes. You don't have that power alone, Duke Castellan stated. The Alpha Council must vote. And we vote no. Murmurs of agreement. Zephyrian's hands clenched, but before he could respond, Liralle laughed, soft and knowing. You still don't see it, do you? She turned toward the throne. None of you know what he really is. Liralle. What? You're sent, Zeph. Beneath the alpha dominance. I've been trying to place it for days. She took a step toward him. Forest and storm, yes. But underneath? Moonflowers. Subtle. Hidden. But there. That's impossible, Thane said. The king is pure alpha lineage. Is he? Lirale's unseeing eyes somehow found Zephyrian's. When was the last time anyone tested your bloodline, Your Majesty? The question hung in the air like an executioner's axe, ready to fall and change everything. Test him. Lord Garrett's voice cut through the stunned silence. If the Omega makes such claims, prove her wrong. This is absurd, Thane protested, but Zephyrian raised his hand. Bring the bloodstone. Gasps echoed through the hall. The bloodstone, an ancient artifact that revealed true biological nature, hadn't been used in decades. Sire, Thane whispered urgently. You can't be considering. Bring it. As servants scrambled to retrieve the artifact from the vault, Liralle felt the atmosphere shift. Alphas who'd been cowering now sensed opportunity, if Zephyrian wasn't pure alpha. While we wait, Mordecai wheezed through his rebroken nose. Perhaps the Omega should tell us how a blind beggar knows bloodline secrets. The same way I know you've been stealing from the treasury, Liralle said calmly. Your cologne can't mask the scent of gold dust that clings to thieves. You lying... Mordecai lunged for her, but this time Zephyrian was there, catching him by the throat. Touch her again, and I'll demonstrate why I'm called the Blood King. The bloodstone arrived, a crystal orb that pulsed with ancient magic. Thane carried it like it might explode. The test is simple, Duke Castellan announced, barely containing his excitement. Pure alphas make it glow gold, omegas, silver, and the impure. He smiled coldly. It turns red. Your hand, Your Majesty, Thane said formally, though his eyes begged Zephyrian to refuse. Zephyrian placed his palm on the stone. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then light erupted. Gold, brilliant, and powerful. The alphas relaxed, but Liralle stepped forward. Keep watching. The gold flickered. Threads of silver wove through it, subtle at first, then undeniable. The stone pulsed between colors, unable to decide, until finally. Red. Deep. Blood red. Impossible, someone breathed. Half-blood. Lord Garrett spat the word like poison. Our king is a half-blood. My mother. Zephyrian's voice was hollow. She was Omega? Queen Anastasia was Alpha, Thane insisted. I saw the wedding records. Forged. An elderly voice spoke from the back. Everyone turned to see Master Arwen, the ancient record keeper who'd served 3 kings and kept their secrets, shuffling forward. I helped forge them, on the late king's orders. You knew? Zephyrian's control cracked, power rippling out. You all knew? Your father thought it best, Arwen continued. Queen Anastasia was Omega, yes. But when she manifested late as partial Alpha, a rare mutation, they hid it. Said she was full Alpha. When you were born showing Alpha traits, the deception continued. His entire rule is illegitimate, Lady Morgana shrieked. A half-blood cannot hold the throne. According to whose law? Lyrelai's quiet voice somehow carried over the chaos. The same laws that say Omegas are worthless, that blind ones should be cast out to die? Natural order, Duke Castellan began, is a lie you tell yourselves to keep power. She moved toward Zephyrian, who stood frozen by the revelation. He's been the strongest king in generations. Built the greatest kingdom, won impossible wars. Did his blood make him weak? But tradition. Tradition said I should have died at birth because my eyes didn't work. Tradition says Omegas can't fight, yet I broke Mordecai's nose twice. She found Zephyrian's hand intertwining their fingers. Maybe tradition is wrong. Pretty speech, Lord Garrett sneered, but the Alpha Council has final say. And I call for immediate removal. His words choked off. Every Alpha in the room suddenly dropped to their knees, overwhelming pressure forcing them down. But it wasn't coming from Zephyrian, it was coming from Lyrelai. What? Thane gasped, fighting against the command but failing. Surprise, Lyrelai said softly. Blindness wasn't the only thing I've been hiding. Her scent exploded through the hall, not just moonflowers and rain, but something ancient, powerful. Omega, yes, but also something more, something that made even Zephyrian's knees weak. True Omega, Master Arwen whispered in recognition. I thought they were extinct. Not extinct, Lyrelai corrected. Hidden, hunted. Killed when found because we threaten the Alpha superiority myth. She released her hold, letting the Alphas stumble upright. An Omega who can command Alphas? Your greatest nightmare. You planned this, Zephyrian said, understanding dawning. You knew what would happen. I suspected. Your scent, the Bloodstone's reaction, pieces of a puzzle. She turned toward the crowd. So here we stand. A half-blood king and a true Omega, both impossible by your standards, both proof that your categories mean nothing. This changes nothing, Duke Castellan snarled. We reject you both. Then you reject the kingdom's salvation, a new voice interrupted. Everyone turned to see 3 figures in ancient robes entering the hall, the Oracle Council, who hadn't left their mountain temple in 50 years. The blood moon rises in 6 hours, the lead oracle announced, and with it, prophecy awakens. The half-blood king and the blind oracle, together, they'll either save the realm or watch it burn. What prophecy? Thane demanded. The oracle's milk-white eyes fixed on Lyrelai. The one written at her birth. The one that said she would either destroy the old world or create a new one. Seize them both, Lord Garrett commanded, but no guard moved. They looked between their revealed half-blood king and the true Omega, who'd brought Alphas to their knees, paralyzed by indecision. The oracle speaks of fairy tales, Duke Castellan said desperately. Prophecies aren't real. The northern wastes advance, the lead oracle interrupted. Even now, the Void Sovereign marshals his forces. He knows what you refuse to see, that only united bloodlines can stop him. The Void Sovereign is a myth. A messenger burst through the doors, face pale with terror. The northern border has fallen. Shadow creatures pour through, thousands of them. Chaos erupted. In the confusion, Mordecai grabbed a ceremonial blade, lunging for Lirelai. If we're all going to die, you die first. Zephyrian moved, but not fast enough. The blade would reach her. Except Lirelai moved faster. Her hand shot out, catching Mordecai's wrist, twisting with precision no blind person should possess. The blade clattered away. How? Mordecai gasped. I told you. I pay attention. She shoved him back. Every footstep has a pattern, every breath, a rhythm. I don't need eyes to see you coming. Enough. Seraphina stepped forward, her perfect composure cracking. Oracle, if this prophecy is real, what does it demand? The mate bond, completed under the blood moon. But more. The oracle turned to Zephyrian. You must embrace what you are. Not Alpha, not Omega, but both. The bridge between worlds. And if I refuse? Then the realm falls to shadow, and every designation, Alpha, Omega, Beta, becomes meaningless in death. You're lying, Lord Garrett snarled. This is a trick to legitimize. Another messenger. The eastern mountains are gone, swallowed by darkness. The shadows move toward the capital. How convenient, Lyrelay said quietly, that you argue about bloodline purity while the world ends. You did this. Lady Morgana pointed at her. Your presence brought catastrophe. My presence revealed truth. Lyrelay moved through the crowd, unafraid despite the hostility. For generations, you've built walls between designations. Alpha's rule, Omega's serve, Beta's labor. But what if that division is exactly what the Void Sovereign wanted? Explain, Thane demanded. Divided, we're weak. Together, we're unstoppable. Why else would prophecy require a half-blood and a true Omega? She found Zephyrian again. You're not weak because you're both. You're stronger. Beautiful words, Duke Castellan said coldly. But the Alpha Council still... The Alpha Council is dissolved. Zephyrian's voice carried final authority. As of now, we're under martial law. You can't... I am your king, legitimate or not. And unless you have a better solution to the shadows eating our kingdom, you'll follow my commands. He turned to the oracle. The blood moon rises soon. What else does the ritual require? Consent, the oracle said simply. True, unwavering consent from both parties. The bond cannot be forced. All eyes turned to Lirelai. You want me to bind myself to you? She asked Zephyrian. Forever? When hours ago you were ready to choose another? I was ready to abdicate. For me? Or for the Omega you imagined I was? Her voice carried years of pain. You loved the idea of someone who didn't want your power. But now you know I have my own. Does that change things? The question hung heavy. Zephyrian approached slowly, aware everyone watched. You're right. I fell for the Omega who challenged me, who survived impossible odds. He stopped just before her. But knowing your true Omega, knowing you could command me, break me, rule without me, and still choose to stand as equals, that doesn't diminish my love, it transforms it. Pretty words from a desperate king. He dropped to his knees. The hall gasped. Alpha kings didn't kneel, especially not to Omegas. Then let me speak ugly truths. I'm terrified. My whole life is a lie. The kingdom crumbles, and the only thing that makes sense is you. He took her hands. I don't need a weak Omega or a strong queen. I need my mate, my equal, my Lyrelai. Even if I'm blind? Especially because you're blind. You saw through every deception to find truth. The shadows are within sight of the capital. A third messenger, more panicked than the others. Choose quickly, the oracle warned. Dawn brings the blood moon, but shadows might arrive first. Lyrelai stood at the precipice. Accept, and bind herself to a half-truth king and a dying kingdom. Refuse, and watch everything burn. You want my answer? She pulled Zephyrian to his feet. Then I have conditions. Name them. When we survive this, Omegas get full rights. All restrictions lifted. Done. The Alpha Council is replaced with equal representation. Agreed. And you mark me here now, before everyone. No hiding. His eyes flashed gold. You're certain? I was born for chaos, Zeph. Might as well embrace it. She tilted her neck, offering, mark me and let's save the world. But as he leaned in, shadows exploded through the windows, bringing nightmares with them. Shadow creatures poured through the shattered windows, writhing masses of darkness with glowing violet eyes. Screams filled the hall as nobles scrambled for exits. Hold the line! Zephyrian roared, his half-blood nature suddenly an advantage as both alpha and omega energies erupted from him, creating a barrier. But there were too many. For every shadow destroyed, 3 more appeared. We need to complete the bond, the oracle shouted. Only united can you— A massive shadow, larger than the rest, materialized directly before them. When it spoke, its voice was like grinding stone. The blind oracle and the false king. How poetic. The shadow solidified into a towering figure, the void sovereign himself, beautiful and terrible. Did you think prophecy was your salvation? Prophecy is my design. Impossible, the oracle gasped. The ancient texts. I wrote the ancient texts, fool. Every word crafted to lead to this moment, his violet eyes fixed on Lyrelai, the true Omega who would unite the bloodlines, and in doing so, create the perfect vessel for my return. You're lying, Zephyrian snarled, pulling Lyrelai behind him. Am I? Why do you think true Omegas were hunted to extinction? Not because they threatened alpha dominance, because they were my greatest creation. Beings who could bridge all designations, channel all energies. The Void Sovereign smiled coldly. And when marked by a half-blood under the blood moon, they become powerful enough to host a god. The truth hit like ice water. The prophecy wasn't salvation, it was a trap. You planned this for centuries, Lyrelai said, understanding dawning. Every law dividing designations, every tradition keeping us apart. Carefully cultivated to ensure when unity finally came, it would be desperate. Forced. Without time to consider consequences. The Void Sovereign approached, shadows writhing around him. Mark her, boy. Complete the bond. Give me my vessel. Never, Zephyrian growled. Then everyone dies. The Void Sovereign gestured, and shadows began consuming nobles one by one. Lord Garrett's screams cut off as darkness swallowed him whole. Stop! Lyrelai stepped forward. It's me you want. Let them go. Lyrelai, no. He's right, Zeph. The prophecy was always about creating a weapon. She faced the Void Sovereign without fear. But prophecies are tricky things. Child, you cannot. Can't I? Power rippled from her, not commanding, but something else. Something the Void Sovereign hadn't expected. You forgot one thing in your centuries of planning. True Omegas weren't just bridges between designations. We were judges of truth. What are you? Every lie you've told, every deception you've woven, I can feel them. More importantly, I can unravel them. She raised her hand, and silver light erupted from her palm. "You're not a god. You're not even truly sovereign." The shadows recoiled. For the first time, fear flickered in violet eyes. "You're the first true Omega," she continued, stepping closer. "Transformed by your own experiments, neither Alpha nor Omega, but something between. Something broken. Silence. You've been searching for a vessel not to conquer, but to be whole again, to feel complete." Her unseeing eyes somehow found his. "I understand that loneliness." "Lyrelai, don't," Zephyrian warned, but she continued forward. "You know my secret?" She addressed the hall, the kingdom, the world itself. "Fine. I'll share yours." She touched the Void Sovereign's chest, and his form flickered, revealing something beneath. An elderly man, scarred and withered, tears streaming down his face. "Keras," Master Arwen breathed, "the first king's Omega son. You were exiled for being born wrong. I was exiled for being born both." Keras/Void Sovereign raged. "Neither Alpha enough nor Omega enough. So I made myself something more, something worse." "You became what they feared to prove them right," Lyralee said softly. "But you don't have to be." "It's too late." "It's never too late." She turned to Zephyrian. "Mark me. But the prophecies can be rewritten." She smiled, finding his face with her fingers. "Trust me. Trust us." Zephyrian looked between the ancient enemy and his impossible mate. The kingdom hung in balance, the shadows pressed closer. "Together?" he asked. "Always." As his fangs descended toward her neck, Keras lunged forward. "No. You don't understand what you're doing." But Lyralee did. As Zephyrian's mark burned into her skin, she grabbed Keras's withered hand, creating a circuit between all three. "I'm not your vessel," she gasped through the pain. "I'm your redemption." Light exploded from the connection, not gold or silver or red, but all three, swirling together in impossible harmony. The mark completed, but changed. Not dominance or submission, balance. The shadows screamed, pulled into the light, not destroyed, but transformed. And Keras dash. Keras fell to his knees, looking at his hands in wonder. They were whole. Neither Alpha nor Omega nor something broken between. Just human. "You freed me," he whispered. "How?" "By seeing you," Lyralee said simply. "All of you." The transformation rippled outward from the throne room. Every shadow creature dissolved into light, each spark racing back to the borders they'd consumed, restoring what was devoured. The impossible was happening. The realm was healing. But in the epicenter, Lyrelai collapsed. "Lyrelai!" Zephyrian caught her, feeling their new bond pulse with unstable energy. Her skin burned with fever, the mark on her neck shifting between colors like living aurora. "The power," Keras said, his voice now fully human, aged but clear. "She took the burden meant to destroy. She's channeling the reunification of all bloodlines. It's too much for one body." "Then take it back," Zephyrian snarled. "I can't." She changed the nature of the bond itself. Keras approached cautiously. "But perhaps Oracle, the blood moon." The lead oracle understood immediately. "The celestial alignment. If we can get her beneath the blood moon when it reaches apex, the lunar energy might stabilize." "That's in 10 minutes." Thane checked the astronomical clock. "The moon garden." Zephyrian was already running, Lyralee in his arms. The court followed. Alphas, Omegas, Betas, all designations racing together. Even Duke Castellan and Lady Morgana, their prejudice momentarily forgotten in the face of losing the one who'd saved them all. The moon garden glowed eerily under the crimson moon, the ghost flowers singing a mournful symphony. Zephyrian laid Lyrelay among the moon roses, their pale petals immediately turning red as they absorbed excess energy from her body. "It's not enough," the oracle said. "She needs an anchor. Multiple anchors. The bond must be witnessed and supported by all bloodlines." Then we witness. Nyx appeared with dozens of Omegas from the underground shelter. "She saved us. We stand with her." "As do we." Commander Thane stepped forward with the palace guards, alphas and betas alike. One by one, they formed a circle. Duke Castellan hesitated, then joined. Serafina followed. Even Mordecai, nose bandaged and pride shattered, took his place. "What do we do?" Zephyrian asked desperately. Lyralei's breathing was getting shallow. "Share the load," Kira said, understanding dawning. "She's trying to hold all designation energies alone, but if we all channel together..." He placed his restored hands on the ground. "Everyone, connect. Touch the earth, the person next to you. Create a living circuit." The blood moon reached its apex, bathing everything in crimson light. The moment the celestial alignment completed, Lyralei's back arched, a scream tearing from her throat. "Now!" Kiris commanded. "Open yourselves. Let the energy flow through you, not just her." The effect was instantaneous and overwhelming. Every person in the circle gasped as power surged through them, not painful, but profound. For a moment, every alpha felt what it was to be Omega. Every Omega experienced alpha strength. Betas felt both, and neither. The rigid boundaries dissolved. In that shared moment, they finally understood. "By the ancient gods," Duke Castellan whispered, tears streaming down his face. "The fear, the constant submission Omegas endure." "The crushing weight of expectation alphas carry," Serafina added, trembling. "The invisibility of betas, always overlooked," a guard murmured. But Lyrelay was still convulsing, the mark on her neck spreading like silver vines across her skin. "It's not enough," the oracle cried. "She needs..." "Me," Zephyrian said suddenly. "She needs her mate to accept what she's becoming." He cupped her face, pressing his forehead to hers. "Lyrelay, hear me. Feel me. You're not alone in this transformation." Through their bond, he pushed everything. His love, his truth, his own transformation from false Alpha King to something real. The acceptance of his half-blood nature, the promise of their future. "Come back," he whispered against her lips. "Come back to me." For a heartbeat, nothing. Then her eyes fluttered open, except they weren't just silver anymore. Gold threads wove through them, creating patterns like constellations. "Zeph?" Her voice was different, layered, as if multiple harmonies spoke at once. "I'm here. We're all here." She sat up slowly, looking around the circle, and gasped. I can see. Not see in the traditional sense. Where others saw physical forms, Lyrelay now perceived truth itself. Every person appeared as layers of light, their past, present, and potential futures, all visible at once. "The bridge," Kiris breathed in awe. "You've become the living bridge between all designations." "What does that mean?" Zephyrian asked, not letting go of her. Lyrelay turned to him, and for the first time truly saw him. Scarred and beautiful, powerful and vulnerable, Alpha and Omega perfectly balanced. "It means the old world really is ending," she said, voice steady despite the magnitude, "and we get to build the new one." "Together?" Serafina asked, surprising everyone. "All of us," Lyrelay confirmed. "No more divisions. No more hierarchies based on designation." She stood, wobbled, then found her balance with Zephyrian's support. "The mark changed everything. I'm connected to all of you now. Every designation, Every person in this circle. I can feel you. Then you know what we must do, the oracle said solemnly. Lirali nodded, seeing the path ahead as clearly as she now saw the garden around her. The coronation. Not just of a king or queen, but of a new age. Will you accept? Zephyrian asked formally, though his hand trembled in hers. Will you stand with me as my equal, my mate, my queen? She looked at him, at the crowd, at Kiris who'd waited centuries for redemption. I accept, but with conditions. Name them, Zephyrian said without hesitation. First, Kiris serves as advisor. Who better to guide integration than the first person torn between designations? Kiris's ancient eyes widened. You would trust me? After everything? You were a victim before you were a villain. Redemption means second chances. She turned to the crowd. Second, the new council includes equal representation, not just alphas, but all designations. The nobles won't accept, Duke Castellan began. The nobles just felt what it means to be Omega, Lyrelay interrupted. Lord Castellan, do you accept? He struggled, then bowed his head. I accept. Third, Lyrelay faced Mordecai. Those who've wronged others make amends. Real amends. Mordecai flinched. What would you have me do? Work the Omega shelters for a year. Learn what your abuse truly cost. Her new sight saw his potential. Not evil, just lost. You could be better, if you choose. And if I refuse, then you exile yourself. But I think you're tired of being alone. The crowd held its breath. Finally, Mordecai nodded. Last condition. She turned to Zephyrian, voice soft. No more hiding. We tell the realm everything, the prophecy, the trap, how unity saved us. Let others learn from our truth. Even about your sight, your true Omega nature? Especially that. Secrets divide us. Truth heals. Then we have a coronation to plan, Thane said, emotion thick in his voice. Dawn approaches. The realm needs to know their king and queen. Not just king and queen, Zephyrian corrected. Equals. Partners. He lifted their joined hands. We rule together, or not at all. As dawn broke, the great bells of the citadel rang out, not the 3 notes of summoning, but 7, the harmony of unity. People flooded the streets, confused by shadows retreating and light returning. The coronation was unlike any before. No grand hall. Instead, the town square, where everyone could witness. Lyrelay wore no elaborate gown, just simple silver robes that matched her unique eyes. Zephyrian abandoned the ancient crown for a simple circlet that matched hers. People of the realm, the oracle announced, we stand at history's threshold. The old ways nearly destroyed us. Division was our weakness. Unity is our strength. She recounted everything. The false prophecy, Karis's manipulation turned redemption, the bond that saved rather than enslaved. The crowd listened in stunned silence. Some will say a blind Omega cannot rule, Zephyrian addressed them. They're right. A blind Omega alone cannot. Just as an Alpha King alone nearly fell to darkness. He took Lirali's hand. But together, a half-blood king and a true Omega Queen, together we are complete. We promise no easy path, Lyrali added, her voice carrying despite its softness. Integration will be difficult. Centuries of prejudice won't vanish overnight. But we've seen what's possible when we stand united. Will you accept us? Zephyrian asked the crowd. Not as superiors, but as servants of a united realm? For a moment, silence. Then Nick stepped forward from the Omega section. The underground shelters accept you. Commander Thane moved from the military section, The guard accepts you. One by one, then in groups, then in waves. Acceptance came. Not unanimous, but enough. More than enough. Master Arwen performed the coronation, not the traditional words, but new ones written for a new age. When he placed the matching circlets on their heads, the ghost flowers throughout the kingdom sang in harmony. "You realize what comes next?" Kiris asked quietly as the celebration began. "Rebuilding," Lyra said. "Law by law, tradition by tradition. Children who will be both and neither," Zephyrian added. "Like I was. Like you were." "But not alone," Kiris said, wonder in his voice. "Never alone again." As the celebration continued, Mordecai approached hesitantly. "Your Majesty, Majesties, the Omega Shelter. When do I start?" "Tomorrow," Lyra said, seeing the first spark of change in him. "Nyx will guide you." He nodded and disappeared into the crowd. Small steps, but steps forward. "My queen," Zephyrian murmured, pulling her close as they watched their people, all their people, celebrate together. "How does your new sight see our future?" Lyra's unique eyes gazed into possibilities, seeing threads of time weaving forward. "I see challenges. Resistance. Some will never accept change." She turned to him, smiling. "But I also see children playing together regardless of designation. I see loves that cross boundaries. I see Kiris teaching young ones that being both is a gift, not a curse." "And us?" She kissed him, soft and sure. "I see a blind queen who sees truth, and a half-blood king who bridges worlds. I see midnight dances in the moon garden. I see equality becoming normal rather than radical." "I love you," he whispered against her lips, "my fierce, impossible mate." "And I love you," she replied, "my beautiful, complicated equal." As the sun climbed higher, bathing the united realm in gold, the ghost flower's song grew louder. Not a lament now, but a celebration. The old world had ended. The new one had just begun. And somewhere in the crowd, a young Omega child watched the blind queen who could see everything, and realized that maybe, just maybe, being different wasn't a curse after all. It was a gift, one that could change the world.